Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to our Zoom meeting to learn a little bit more about the visual and performing arts and grants. I'm Cal Fuller, for those of you especially who do not know me, and I'm the chair of the Visual and Performing Arts. We hope to give you some valuable general information and also some specifics, and also details of where to seek out more information. One of your best resources is the teachers of your students. So be sure to ask them about more information before you make decisions about applying. And that deadline, which we'll say a number of times tonight, is January 10th. We'll show it to you on the website as well. We want you to hear from students who've participated in the program in the past to understand their value and also to help you with the application process. But we also value everyone's time, and we wanted to keep this as brief as we can, provided we're answering the questions we can at this particular point. I'd first like to ask my colleagues who are on our Zoom to introduce themselves and what they teach, so that you know who you might follow up with for further questions that you might have. And thanks to all of them for being here. Can I start with Catherine?
Yes. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. I'm Catherine Hollyfield, and I teach 8th grade art through Art 3, and I'm happy to help any of the folks looking for summer programs. We've had a lot of success with our guys going off.
Hi, I'm Allison Flanagan. I'm another visual arts teacher. I teach 7th grade art and then also some high school classes as well.
Katie?
I'm Katie Swyka-Brockman. I teach Art 1, AP Studio, and the AP Art History course.
Well, who else is here?
I'm here.
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Jan Pippin. My name's Jan Pippin. I teach band with Jordan Frederick. So performing music.
Wonderful. And do we have anyone else with us? But I can't see everyone for some reason.
I think that's all who are here tonight.
All for now. Yeah, good. We want to give you a few more details. So we'll go through, we have a slideshow, and we also have some interviews with students, so that we can tell you more about the program and also where to find the applications. So if we could go to that next, where to find the programs. Okay, good. And it applies to, for most of these grants, you have to be a sophomore, junior, or senior. Is that rising? That's rising, right? For next year. Right.
Yeah, rising 10th through 12th grade.
Right. So it really applies to upper school students right now, except those seniors who are graduating. And to find the application, if you can see our little illustration here, you would go to academics, and that has a menu, then go down to Wilson Grants under academics, then go to the tab that says either Visual and Performing Arts Grants, or the one that says, if you're interested, and we'll tell you more about this, the Wilson Cultural History Trip, which is an arts trip as well to Boston, New York, and Philadelphia. You can find the application there, and you print those out to hand them in by January 10th. Oh, good. Yeah, so if we could move on, we'll have these interviews from different students in the different areas of the visual and performing arts. That sometimes we abbreviate as VAPA. I've had students asking me, what is VAPA this week? I was like, oh, right. Not everybody necessarily knows what that is. But if you see that abbreviation somewhere, know that you're in the visual and performing arts area. So if you guys want to start those interviews.
I'm Ollie, class of 2024. I went to Interlochen in Michigan. We did lots of art. We worked in a lot of different mediums like charcoal, inks, markers. It was a really great experience because I got to meet lots of new people and like work with them, see how they worked, and get really inspired yeah, after the experience, I was like really excited about art. I started doing a lot more, and like since we did art so much, and like the instructors, they were really great. So we practiced a lot. They like taught us new skills. There's a charcoal still life that I did that I'm especially proud of. Worked on it a lot. It was like the main piece I did. Uh, I learned a lot. I had never used the medium before, so it was really fun to work with that. If there's anyone that's like thinking about doing a grant, I really encourage them to do so, or just at least apply. Ask your teacher about like the different grants that you can do. Talk to your friends. This is a great opportunity we have here at MBA, and you should really take advantage of it.
These are some of the, this is a list of programs that some of our boys have gone to and really enjoyed, and we found great success with these programs.
It's going to be an interesting year this year, I'm sure, because a lot is going to open up that was not, last year was kind of a frustrating year because many people applied and many things shut down, at least to be as live programs. So I think you're going to find a lot that's available, but you may need, that has its own challenges in terms of how to navigate it. So be sure and talk with your arts teachers. They can do a great job helping guide you, and we can help you with part of that research. If you find that one program is not certain whether there will be, in person, we can look for parallel kinds of programs. It's great.
All right.
Any questions about the art grants? We'll hold those if you do, and we'll come back to them when we've listened to all three sections here.
My name is Henry Kiefer, and I'm in the class of 2025. This past summer, I went to String Crossings at Belmont University, which is a camp for stringed instruments, so the violin, the cello, the bass. I played the violin, and I feel like I learned a lot from that because I could be in a group with a bunch of people that love to play, and I could create connections with other people and learn how to play in groups. The best thing about it, in my experience, was the diversity of the music we played. We didn't just play classical or jazz. We got to improvise with fiddle, with Celtic, with swing. The teachers were great because they really understood how to teach and how to engage with the students. And I could bring a lot back to MBA and how to be a better team member in the orchestra. One thing I would recommend when trying to figure out what camp you want to do is to find something that you enjoy and something you think you can take out of, something that you can apply to MBA and the classes you take. What made me choose this camp was I realized it was close and that I could know people that were going there, and I knew that Belmont had a really great music program, and I believe this camp has definitely helped me in the orchestra class.
Jan, do you want to say anything about the programs?
This is a really short list of
Yeah.
thousands of choices. We've had kids go all over the place, and like everyone else, we hope that some of those are going to be back in person this summer. We've had kids stay at Belmont or do Nashville Jazz Workshop. We've had kids go as far away as, programs in California, Berkeley. So, I mean, those options are endless. Jordan and I and Miss Wilson and the choir directors would all be happy to help steer people into a program that's appropriate for where they are or what they're looking to learn.
Good. One of the guidelines that has come to us about choosing a program depends somewhat on what class you're in. We do tend to encourage underclassmen to stay relatively local, and then upperclassmen especially those who participated in a program in the past, that they should look further afield and to get an option, consider an option that's further away. Part of that's just a maturity level on the part of students, but also, the more expensive programs are the ones that are in dorms, at the schools. And there's some concern, I know, on the part of parents about how much they're supervised on these college campuses. So the level of maturity and matters in that regard. So if you have questions about that, again, we can talk about that as well. But that's been a general guideline in all of our arts areas in terms of programs and where you are in school. Is that fair to say? Anybody else in my department? Yeah. Good.
Hi, I'm Monica Sharp from the class of 2022, and this past summer I received a Wilson grant to attend the Interlochen School of the Arts graphic novel and graphic narratives week-long intensive. And it was truly an amazing experience for me personally, to really have a place where I could pursue the kind of artistic endeavors that I really wanted to do, that being telling stories through graphic narratives, and just being able to be in a space where I could just be laser focused on this particular aspect of my art really helps kickstart a completely different school year for me artistically. And this year my projects have been a lot more narrative focused, and I've been able to put more effort and thought into applying what I learned from that course. And it was truly an amazing experience. And if you are even considering anything involving the arts, just my advice to you is to go for it, to submit your application, find literally anything that you can use to further your artistic experience here at MBA, and go for it.
Good. I'm going to ask Alex Jakowski if he would join us tonight too and talk about, he was involved in a film program this summer, and I know has a lot to say about it. So I'm going to turn it over to him and ask if he would share a little bit about his experience as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking me to talk about my experience, Dr. Fuller. So yeah, over the summer, I went to Burlington, Vermont for 3 weeks, and it basically was in the School of Creative and Performing Arts, and I had the opportunity to kind of be immersed in a 3-week filmmaking boot camp learning experience. This was like so exciting to me because I mean, anybody who knows me well will tell you that I'm ridiculously obsessed with film and everything about it. And so just having the opportunity to go and do something like this was incredible. And I really had no idea what to expect. And you go in there and you meet everybody, and then from 9 p.m. learning about film and about directing and writing from people that are in the industry, people that have made movies and done things. Incredible. I basically the first weekends we would watch movies and talk about them and talk about what certain things meant and how they did these shots, and we learned how to write screenplays and everything about that. And then basically at the end of the first week, our assignment was in a group of 4. We had to create a 1-minute movie, and it was sort of this kind of introduction into the whole process. And I think the greatest thing was that I took away from that first experience was how difficult it was. You know, I mean, I have spent my entire life criticizing other people's movies that are, you know, these incredible directors and are amazing at their jobs. And now I realize how hard it is. So it was pretty incredible to like actually experience it and then be like, oh, this is really difficult. So that was great. And then you, the next week, spend a lot of time thinking about your next movie and spend a lot of time writing the script. This is an actual sort of full-fledged movie. The first movie had no dialogue. It was all just sort of about the camera movements, and it was much more simplistic and a much easier way to sort of be phased into like making a movie. And this one, you had actors that you were assigned to work with. You didn't have a choice. So going in and making the second movie was, you know, it was even more difficult because you're trying to get actors to work with you, and you know, especially I think that acting is kind of where directing circulates around. Like it's all about the performances that you get on screen, and especially when they're speaking your dialogue and you have a vision and they have a vision and everybody else has a vision. You're trying to make sure that it all works. Um, so that happened, and then you, after the second movie, there's a premiere of all the different arts projects in all the camp. There was a dance program and an acting program and a photography program, and it's all premiered, and it's super exciting. And just to see like people laughing at the jokes that you made and all of the things that you wanted and the things that you were thinking about a week prior, it's amazing. And then the last project is called the Kubrick, which, if you're not familiar with Stanley Kubrick, he's by far one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. And ultimately, the whole last week is dedicated to this project. You're supposed to write it, and then you really delve into it, and you have a lot of time to make it and try to come up with something as creative as possible. So my last, I'll talk about my last project a little bit. It was basically I was, you know, obviously we would have meals with all the other filmmakers, and I was sort of sitting in, and I don't know, I don't consider myself a frightening person. I really don't. I don't know why, but so what happened was these people were talking about it, and they were like, you know, Alex, somebody said that you were a really frightening director. And I was like, I don't understand how that's possible. I've never done anything wrong. I think I was tall, maybe that was what it was. But that sort of got my mind thinking. I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And then I thought, well, for my last project, why don't I just make the movie about a frightening director who thinks that all of his ideas are amazing and they're really not. And so I had the most incredible time just developing that and delving into every type of humor and joke that I can make out of it. We were having such a blast. Like we would put the boom mic in the frame of the movie just to make it so that the director seemed like he was doing a bad job. And really, I felt like the best thing to come out of the experience was that my last movie was so much better than the first and second one. And that my second one was a lot better than the first one. And that really seeing because again, at the after the you make your third project, there was another premiere, and seeing how much people were enjoying it and seeing how big the reactions were, how, you know, loud people were laughing and how much people were paying attention to what was going on, it really makes you feel like you learned a lot. And I walked away from that experience with so much, and so many new things, and it was honestly
And he's frozen. Thank you, Alex. I think you can tell how excited Alex is about the program that he participated in. One of the things I felt since the beginning of the Wilson Cranston the Visual and Performing Arts, one of the things I was particularly pleased about is this kind of intensive program or boot camp that Alex was involved in, because our students, are competing. If they decide to go on in the arts in college, when they apply, they're competing against students who have been at art schools and are doing big projects all the time. And at MBA, that's less the case because there's so much that's demanded of our students' time, and we're not focused exclusively on the arts. So, in theater, a student who is auditioning for a theater program is competing against somebody who's been taking theater classes all day, every day, for their senior year. So it gives students two chances. One is to see what an intensive program is like and whether that's really what they want to be doing close to full time when they're in college, and also just to have a more in-depth experience that they can bring back and share with students at MBA, both of which are really important and enrich our program even as they are enriched. Alex brings that excitement back to MBA, and that excitement is contagious, and he can talk more with other students about what that's like. So thank you, Alex. You were frozen there for a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Thanks for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Thanks for prompting me with the slide about the trip. The cultural and visual arts trip, the MBA cultural history trip, we call it the cultural arts and history trip to the Northeast, has existed for a few years. It was the brainchild of Jim Womack, and I was lucky enough to go with him on that first trip. And the following year, Katie Swika-Brockman and I were the chaperones and organized the trip. And she's created this wonderful slide about all the things we did that year. I can say to you, I wanted to become a teacher because I love the field trips, and because the field trips I went on with my arts teachers. And it is when I am the happiest as a teacher is when we are seeing art in person, whether it's in a gallery or it's at the theater or it's a concert. That live experience to me is what it's all about. And to share that with students, because my teachers shared it with me, including trips to New York and to DC to see the galleries there and to take us through the galleries. That has so much meaning to me. And as we've started preparing for a trip this year, I've been looking back at my notes from when we were in Philadelphia and New York and Boston, and seeing, funny things that happened and amazing moments when you're standing in front of Van Gogh's Starry Night and you think, oh, this is what it's really like, when I've been looking at a slide that doesn't do it justice. Or having that feeling when the cast of Arthur Miller's All My Sons are taking their final bows, or hearing music from the Temptations on Broadway is like nothing else, and nothing that we could experience even with a traveling show in Nashville. So Katie, you want to say more about it? What am I missing?
We also did some wonderful history things, like a walking tour of Harlem. We also had a tour of the Freedom Trail when we were in Boston, and just really getting to see things, like Dr. Fuller said, firsthand. And students who I had in art history the following year, we saw those pieces at the Met. We saw them at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, at Harvard's Art Museum. So it just really enriched their experience.
You have no idea of scale until you're standing in front of something. Some things are so much smaller and detailed than you thought, and some things are huge, right? Yeah, and walking around Harlem, I teach a class, some of you may know, but I teach a class on the 1920s and the Harlem Renaissance. And to be able to take students where I've been able to go in Harlem, and they can see, we're hoping this year we can hear a concert at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, to see where Billie Holiday first performed, to see where the Savoy used to stand, where Marcus Garvey made speeches and Malcolm X when they were in Harlem. It's really something else. And the Boston, we had the most colorful tour guide in Boston whose name was Jeremiah Poop. That was his real name, whose ancestors went back, pretty far in Boston, and he had such amazing stories. He also did ghost tours, so he would give us a little bit of the ghost tours of Boston, which was quite enjoyable. Anything else that you need to know from us? We just open it up for questions in the time that we've got left. Questions? We're at that point. Anyone, just unmute yourself. Hey, Frank Pierce. That's okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your summer experience? The short version?
Yeah, just really fast. I did an NYU screenwriting program. It was on Zoom, but it was a lot of fun because I had never really tried anything with writing. And to be able to have that new experience and to be able to like talk with professionals who really know what they're doing, and to be able to just like talk with like-minded people about like what it takes to be in this, if you wanted to pursue this industry, what it takes to be in it, what, just to discuss different ideas. And it was really fun just being able to like meet new people from all around the country and even the world. But it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot of new things, and it also gave me a love for just writing, and specifically screenwriting, which I really have enjoyed.
I would say in theater, the focus has changed in a lot of the programs. I mean, we used to send many more people to acting programs, but I think partially because of COVID, the focus has shifted more to writing, screenwriting, and playwriting. I'm not too surprised by that, and I'm not displeased either, because I think we wanted to grow our playwriting program at MBA, and I've seen more interest on the part of the students, and then the students in the advanced, the studio theater class, have tended more and more to write their own shows. And I think part of it is because they're much more confident about writing for the stage. I think that's very exciting. Application question. What if you're not sure how much program will cost with travel? Yet there is a sort of give and take about the application process, in that the application is due in January, and that's probably about when most of these programs are putting online the details of their program. So you may see the details right now of last year's program, and also the costs of last year's program, if indeed it happens live. So if any of my colleagues have other suggestions, I think probably what we have suggested in the past, it works pretty well, is put the costs down that are listed for the program as it is. We can make some adjustments as we go. I know that happened for Alex, for instance, and there were prices that were shifting left and right. I mean, sometimes they were getting more expensive if they were indeed going to be live, because they had to have smaller groups in areas to be safe. And others, they went to much less expensive because, like Frank's program, it ended up being, on Zoom rather than being live. So we know that there's got to be some flexibility. If in terms of travel, it depends on how many people apply, whether travel will really be included in the cost. we tend to try to fund as many programs as we possibly can, even if that means we can't cover travel. Doesn't mean we won't. It's possible, but it just depends on how many people apply, because we want as many people studying as possible. Other questions? Question?
We had a good question that was asked that's probably worth sharing with everyone, which was, can you go on the Wilson cultural trip and still qualify for other Wilson grants as well?
Great question. Thank you for whoever asked that. And thank you, Allison, for saying it out loud. Yes, you can do both. So if you're interested in the cultural history trip, but you're also applying for another grant in our department or in another department, both are possible. So one will not in any way disqualify you for the other. It's a great thing. Good. And in terms of the cultural history trip, all expenses are paid in terms of lodging and transportation. I think, and Katie, tell me if I'm wrong, I think we ended up paying for about half the meals we would pay for the group. There were some meals, smaller meals that people did on their own, but I think we did most of the bigger dinners. We covered that.
We covered at least one major meal in every city.
In every city.
Like,
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, thank you. Good. So it's an amazing gift. All of these are amazing gifts. Good. Well, if there are no more questions, follow up, please, with the teachers that are in the area that you're interested in for more details about programs, or if you're trying to find information about costs. And there is a sort of weirdness in the timing, because I know, for instance, Northwestern's my alma mater, so I often look to see when information's posted, and it's posted about the same time we have a deadline. But the cost has not dramatically changed. I do have some concerns about that this year, because everything seems to be more expensive on this end of COVID. But we'll just see. We'll see how that works out, and if the budgets adjust at all in terms of what's available to us for these grants in our department. Thank you for your interest, and thanks for everybody for your questions, and for participating, and for my colleagues for being here and answering questions. The dates for the cultural and arts history trip, they're approximate right now, but June, it's an 8-day trip, I believe. So June 16th through the, 7 days later? 22nd, 23rd, somewhere in there.
20 to the 24th.
24th. Okay, good.
So it's on the application.
Yeah.
With some flexibility in mind in terms of sequence of cities.
Right. And we've done a different sequence each year based on when there were some museums that were closing, and we wanted to make sure that we got to them. So we may do that again this year. The first year we went Boston, New York, Philadelphia. It's nice to end in Philadelphia, actually. There's, by the way, food everywhere is fantastic. If you're a foodie. And then the second year we started in New York because MoMA was closing for renovations, and there was a great exhibit we wanted to see there before they closed. So we started in New York, then went to Boston, and then we had a long train ride from Boston to Philadelphia, but it was worth it. Good. Well, thanks again to everyone for being here. Thank you, colleagues, for your contributions, students for sharing your enthusiasm. I mean, I could sit and listen to you guys talk about this for forever. And be sure to share with other students so that they know how great this is. And I hope a number of you will consider the trip as well. It's a wonderful trip. And I think you'll find it quite rewarding and something that you'll remember for a very long time. So thank you all. Have a good night.